friends! Welcome to the second ever episode of the Tabletop Tavern. It is so good to have you guys here. I thought I would start today's episode with a little review of what happened last week for anyone who wasn't caught up. Our heroes, if you can call them that, last found themselves leaving the capital city, heading toward the city of Frelyn. To go to a library. When they got to the elven city of Frelyn, they found themselves confronted by a strange, handsome elven man who claimed to know Leon, the lovely, noble half-elf, through her mother. That's where we last left off. Our characters were very confused. They were also chasing the tales of a dead man walking, a man who woke from a very long sleep, that awakened something in their druidic friend Griss's past. So that's where we last left off. So yes. So you are all standing in the town square. You have just entered through the gates, and a voice calls out to you, Lady LaBelle! Is that you? Your mother's told me so much about you.
So, Leon, I believe Galen made a comment about this being one of Leon's suitors. I made a snarky comment back, and then Leon says, and you are.
Oh, well, please forgive my transgression. My name is Sir Gabriel Lineros of Frelyn. It is very nice to meet you. I've been in contact, shall we say, with your mother, and he kind of like pulls out a bunch of letters that are very clearly in Leon's mother's handwriting.
Oh, Sir Lineros, do you mind if I call you Gabriel?
Please, it would be my pleasure.
Gabriel, how did you become acquainted with my mother? What were the two of you discussing? I've heard nothing of you.
I might have an idea.
He sort of awkwardly laughs and scratches the back of his head, and he's like, well, our family does quite a bit of business together, Lady LaBelle, and...
Oh, yes.
Well, and he sort of, like, blushes awkwardly, and he's like, maybe you should just read these. And sort of, he's, like, very awkward, he's very flustered. He's sort of lost the confidence that he initially had. But he sort of holds up the
Leon
letters.
is not. Yeah, so Leon takes the letters from Mr. Sir Gabriel Lineros, and she kind of just she takes them and she holds onto them for a moment, and she's not really flustered at all. This is not something that she is like stranger to. She's very used to getting people flustered and making people anxious. This is like a normal reaction for her. And she looks at Gabriel and says, I've only just arrived in town. How did you find me so quickly? Were you looking? What are you doing here?
Actually, that was your mother's latest letter, was that you were headed off on the road for some reason or another, and if I were to see you, and he sort of like pulls out like an awkward like drawing that you know your mother has sent to countless potential suitors, that's just a drawing of Leon, and he's like, that I should stop and offer you a place to stay. Your companions are welcome too, of course. And he sort of awkwardly gestures at you all to make it very clear that he's apologetic for not introducing himself immediately.
Griss is looking at this portrait and like immediately like looks at Leon and back to the portrait. It's like, it's quite good actually. Quite good likeness.
My mother dabbled in art at one point. This Leon doesn't like.
Galen has a look on his face, and he's just like tapping his foot and shaking his head. He's like, I knew it.
Leon looks at the group, doesn't ask them for permission, looks at Gabriel and says, "We will absolutely take you up on that offer. Where is this location that you are speaking of? We will head there. Not currently. We're currently on our way to do something, but we will absolutely take you up on that offer of a place to stay."
No, hold up.
Okay.
I scurry up and gently tug at Leon's elbow and whisper, like, just even though we're close, so that just she could hear. Did you really just agree to take up lodging with a man you barely met?
Leon looks at Gabriel and says, "Can we have a moment? Do you mind?"
Take all the time you need, Lady LaBelle. I am at your service. And he sort of does like an awkward bow.
Thank you.
And is like stands patiently, sort of looking around. You know, he's like admiring the scenery. He seems like a good-natured guy.
Leon turns to Ariadne and the rest of the team and says, "Listen, it's gonna be a big house. Don't really think we have to worry that much. Also, be nice. I like nice."
By your
You're
own
really gonna
admission,
say,
we don't
are you
know
going
him.
to say no to free lodging? He knows my mother, which means he has an obligation to not murder me. So,
And you're certain?
no, I'm not. We also don't have to take him up on it. If he tells us where the location is and then we make a decision to maybe perhaps not go there, that's not the end
I'm
of the world.
fine
But I
with
think we
it. I
should
just
discern what the place is.
I just want to know you've thought it through.
think everything through.
All right.
Perhaps
Galen, actually, never mind.
Galen looks up and he looks at everybody in the eyes and goes, "Well, if he tries anything funny, I'll just cut off his circulation. It's fine. Let's at least go and look at it." And while he's doing this, he's like twirling a copper piece in his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Gris is kind of
is a real question.
Gris is kind of excited and excited to meet a new person and just kind of leans into everybody and says, "I think he's rather nice. I think we could trust him. Why not? He seems great. He bowed. He told us he could, stay with them, and I feel confident."
Leon kind of shakes her head and says, don't. Trust is not the word. Tentatively hold afar. What we're going to call it at this point. And then she turns back to Gabriel.
Who is, by the way, making it very obvious that he is trying not to eavesdrop. He's got his hands in his pockets. Yeah. He's whistling, sort of humming, trying to very obviously not listen in on this conversation.
Can I roll a
So how tall is he?
to see if he was listening?
Yes, you can roll a perception check.
Okay. I've done this so long. This is weird.
While Galen is rolling the perception check, how tall is Gabriel?
About
14.
6'2".
Okay, so he's taller than
he's a tall guy.
What a fun question.
I'm just wondering if Leon's going to be towering over him or not.
Leon's just checking out her suitor,
Yeah.
I gotta do what I gotta do, So, did you say it was a 14?
It was a 14. I only rolled an 8 on deception, so you're gonna get a full kind of Galen's perspective here. So Galen, you can tell that this man was not listening to you. You notice that he is what you think would probably be classified as handsome. He seems good-natured and kind. He seems like he would be a really good guy to rob. But there's something about him that you don't trust. Even though everything about him says trustworthy, as a man who is very good at convincing others that he is trustworthy when he is not, something about him seems just a little bit off.
Sus.
Can I
share
like
that?
relay that
Or
to
no?
the group?
My question is, would Galen relay that to the group?
I think he'd do it, but like very vaguely.
Okay, all right. You do whatever you feel is appropriate. Now, I want to make clear, there's nothing obviously distrustful about him. It feels like maybe something's a little off, but it also could just be that you don't like nobility.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I turn to everyone, and I kind of like look at Ariadne, and I like point at my eyes and like gesture towards him, just be like,
All right.
I don't.
I return a head nod in kind.
Sorry, our video just got fucked up for a second. All right.
It's okay.
Okay, so you return a head nod in kind.
Okay.
Leon, you're speaking to Gabriel at this point, right?
Yeah, so Leon's gonna turn towards Gabriel. She's going to say, Gabriel?
Yes, Lady Leon, and he sort of bows.
Upon further discussion, we are going to take you up on your offering of lodging. Is there a direction that you can point us in? Is there something... We don't need to lodge at the moment, but perhaps knowing where the location is, whatever you're thinking.
He sort of like visibly perks up. Like he's got like puppy dog who you just told we're going for a walk energy, okay? Like he's like, if he had a tail, it would be wagging. And he's like, Lady LaBelle, this evening, I'm holding an impromptu soirée to celebrate my sister's engagement. It would make me absolutely delighted if you and your companions were to come. And he sort of gestures to to your friends, and he's like, please, it would be my absolute pleasure.
Is it open bar?
He sort of laughs, and he's like,
Leon looks at Ariadne like, did you just...
He takes it in stride, though, and he's like, we have some of the finest wine from the Elven area being imported. You must come.
But
We will absolutely attend.
But do you have mushrooms?
And the guy's sort of like, our cook is determining the menu, but if you have any preference, please let me know, and I'll make sure he does his best to meet you, to acquiesce your requests.
Yes. Is it mushrooms is my preference.
He sort of bows, and he's like, you may call me Gabriel Mists, and he extends his hand in greeting.
Chris takes it and shakes it like rather excitedly, like thrilled to meet a new person, and said, you can call me Chris.
And he does another bow, and he's like, thank you, Lady Chris.
Chris at the mention of lady is like looking around at all of her compatriots like, did you hear I'm a lady?
Gabriel then turns to face Ariadne and is like, I do not believe I caught your name.
Because I didn't give it. You may call me Ariadne.
He does another bow, and he's like, of course. And he turns to Galen and is like, and you?
Galen like crosses his arms and like looks him up and down and goes, I'm not dressing up like you.
And the guy kind of laughs, and he's like, okay. He doesn't know what to do about that, but he's like, all right. And he turns to Leon and he goes,
Leon jumps in. Yeah. Leon jumps in, and she's like, we will be dressed for an occasion. Don't worry. This is just a bit of banter, some bants, if you will, Gabriel. It's inside jokes. Don't mind. We'll be there tonight.
He sort of chuckles and again scratches the back of his head very awkwardly, and he goes, okay, the meal begins at sundown, and I know this might be contrary to some of your companions' beliefs, but it is a celebration of an engagement. There will be,
absolutely,
a sort of, and he like awkwardly is like he's trying his best to be nice. He's like a dress code.
Absolutely, without question. Do not be concerned.
Chris immediately is crestfallen and looks down at her dirty bare feet and then kind of looks over at Ariadne and like nudges them and points to her feet.
I put my hand on her shoulder and just like squeeze like it in, like it'll be okay. Just a resigned sigh from me, but then it'll be okay for Chris.
He then takes a piece of parchment and sort of a quill from his pocket and hastily scrawls down what appear to be directions and folds it and takes Leon's hand very gently and presses the directions into her hand and bows again and gives her a very gentle kiss on the hand. Nothing inherently weird about it, you know, they are nobility, this is sort of the practice. And blushes a little bit and is like, I'll see you at sundown then. And smiles
as he
and is
walks
like,
away.
Don't be late, and kind of walks away.
Okay. As he walks away, Leon quickly calls, Gabriel,
He turns.
you point me in the direction of the shopping district?
And he points down the main street and is like, oh, just a few blocks that way. You can't miss it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll see you this evening. We'll see you this evening.
He waves and he's grinning in his like little puppy dog way. And walks
I give
away.
just a very perfunctory.
Galen doesn't even acknowledge him.
Chris is waving very excitedly.
All right. With that done,
So, Leon puts her hand on her hip. Yeah, one hand on one hip. Turns around to the rest of the team and says, we need to sort this situation out.
yes, I believe you're right. We are here for the library. We should get going before it gets too late.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I think it might, not only for the fact that it's somewhere that we can sleep, but having a contact in the nobility in a city like Frelyn, where we're going to be needing to take advantage of their library, I think it's good if we make a good impression, and that means the whole team needs to make a good impression, which means the whole team needs to dress as if we are all nobility.
I'm not wearing
But
color.
we're not.
Nobility? Nobility?
I'm not saying we're going to pretend you're nobility. I'm saying we're going to dress you as if you are fit to be at a noble ball.
But
Soirée.
Leon, I don't even wear shoes.
We're gonna get
I'm
you shoes.
I can't afford shoes.
That's a good point. I don't think any, except maybe the thief, can afford shoes.
I can afford shoes, everyone.
But I
I
don't
mean-
like them.
Oh, Ariadne, I'm not saying you have to wear them all the time, although I would highly encourage it.
Can I bring my staff? I don't feel very comfortable
Yes.
without it.
Yes,
I'm not
absolutely.
taking my sword.
Under no circumstances am I saying that.
Okay.
Leon stops and is like, take what you can get, Leon. This is what's going through her head. Like, get what you can get, pay for the rest later. Just get what you can get.
Chris is deeply clutching the staff at this point.
Galen, like,
Can I
sits down.
suggest Chris and I are just
Leon looks at Galen and says, "You too."
Galen rolls his
Not
eyes, says
asking.
whatever.
Great.
Whatever.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I give Galen the same look he gave me about Gabriel, thinking like you're the one who's sus. Be sus with me.
Can I roll a perception check to see if I notice that look?
Yeah, go for it.
Hey.
Ari, do you want to conceal this?
Yes.
Okay, I would like you to roll a deception check.
If I could stop fucking around. I just dropped my d20. I'm gonna use the one on D&D Beyond. It's fine. Leave me alone about it. What'd you say? Deception?
Yeah.
Three.
I rolled a 17 plus 2.
Okay, so you see them make a face,
I'm gonna go get my desk.
And you're not necessarily, you know, the one who communicates in the same way that you do, but you definitely see them pull a face in Galen's general direction.
Leon looks between the two of them and is like, what was that? What was that? What was that? Was that a snarky comment? Do you have something to say? What was that? What was that?
Can I, like, try and charm my way out of this?
Are you going to use charisma, or are you going to actually use charm?
I would like to use charisma.
Roll a charisma check, and Leon, roll a, let's call this a wisdom check.
12 plus 3, 15.
Oh my god, what's the math? Oh my god, where's my wisdom? Oh my god. Where's my wisdom?
I took it.
There. Oh my god, it was right in front of my fucking face. Oh my god. It's 14 plus 2.
16! Oh, okay. So,
Why couldn't I read the word wisdom?
how about we have you guys roleplay this? Galen, try to charm your way out of Leon. Leon, have none of his shit.
What do you mean? We were just
Do you
having
mean,
fun.
what do I mean? I saw it, I witnessed it with my own 2 eyes. There was a look after I made a comment, and I did not appreciate the look.
It was just fun bants. It's fine. It's whatever. It's just good banter. Look.
Can I
if I'm gonna
interject,
be
or would you
stuck
rather
with
they
these
fight it
people-
out?
What was
I'm
the
gonna be
banter?
stuck with these
It was just
people.
good fun bants. What were the good fun bants? I want to be part of the
Jenny,
good fun
would
bants.
you like me to let them? Can I interject, or would you like them to?
You can go
get
ahead
out?
and interject if you want to.
Cool. I just didn't wanted to make sure. I just turned to Leon and go, if you really want to know, I was trying to get him on board.
That's a lie?
No.
Did it at least work, Ariadne?
I think so.
Galen?
Probably not anymore.
Crosses his arms.
Right. We need to go shopping. So Leon starts to lead the way towards the shopping district.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so you follow this main road, which is just this like beautiful, solid cream street. It's totally unlike anything you would find in a human settlement. The elven buildings really kind of look like they just sprung up from the ground, like they've always been there. Unlike the marketplace of other cities, which bustle of people of all races and walks of life, this marketplace hawks solely elven goods. There's tall, willowy, high elves who sell fine clothing and intricate silver jewelry from established stores inside of these beautiful buildings. And their signs advertise elegant shop names in Elvish. Meanwhile, there are wood elves as well who sell more basic goods and items they found from the forest in temporary stalls blocked from the midday sun by awnings in mute greens and earthen tones. They shout their prices and wares at passersby in a strange mix of Sylvan, Elvish, and Common. So you're sort of passing down the street, and as you enter the marketplace, you can kind of hear just this bustle of languages. You know, they're yelling things like herbs and mushrooms, fresh from the forest floor, fresh cat game, stuff like this.
At the mention of herbs and mushrooms, fresh from the forest floor, Gris immediately perks up and is quickly tugging on whoever is nearest to her to get their attention and says, "Did you hear herbs and mushrooms?"
Who is it that she's tugging on, Jenny?
I think that would probably be Ari.
Yeah, I think that too.
Actually, no. You know what? We're gonna say that at this point it was Galen, because Galen is sort of like grudgingly traipsing at the back of the group next to Gris, like, oh my god, like sullen teen sort of energy, you know?
So Gris is kind of like grabby hands at this moment and like pulling on whatever piece of Galen's clothes she can get a hold on. Herbs and mushrooms, Galen.
Yeah, so?
So we should get some herbs and mushrooms, Galen!
Do you want me to get them for you?
No, just go with me. Just go with me. Just tell Leon we're gonna go get some herbs and mushrooms.
Hey, Leon, we're we're going over there. And he gestures.
Herbs and mushrooms!
Okay, we need... This is a very fine, upstanding city, and Gris needs shoes.
No, I need herbs and also mushrooms.
Do you really think it'll go any quicker if you deny her herbs and mushrooms?
How long will it be, Gris?
Oh, just a very quick I'll be so fast. You won't even know we're gone. I just need Galen to help me carry things. That's it.
Staring off into the distance, just like...
I turn to Leon and just say, I suggest a time limit.
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes! Galen, let's go!
I'll give it 3. I'll give you 3.
Okay. So Galen and I scurry on over to this vendor who's selling herbs and mushrooms and still kind of shouting it loudly, I imagine.
Yes.
I would like both herbs and mushrooms.
Watching them scurry away, I just turn. Could have considered her shorter legs.
Oh god.
I'm gonna give them as much time as they need, Ari. I just want the...
I'm just going off what you said.
Rolling. I just want the ball to keep rolling,
the stall that Gris and Galen have approached is sort of worn down. It's got a fawn-colored awning with like a couple of holes in it so the light filters in. It's really quite beautiful. And the vendor is an elderly wood elf woman. She's got to be, I mean, elves live forever, but she's got to be pretty close to death. She's completely blind, and you can tell this because her eyes are sort of milky white. But in front of her, on the ground, is rolled out this piece of fabric that's just covered in some of the wildest herbs any of you have ever seen. A few of which are sort of this pale blue color, and they're very, very odd. They kind of pulse with a strange internal light. And as Gris approaches, she sort of hobbles out to greet her and takes her hand without speaking and holds it for a good 30 seconds.
Gris is kind of shocked by the immediate hand holding, but does respond pretty quickly and says, "Hi, what do you have today? It's so nice to meet you. I'm Gris."
The woman takes like a wrinkled palm that's not holding her hand and touches her face, and then pulls her, and by extension Galen, who's following behind, towards the stall and reaches and sort of feels around in the herbs and pulls out one of the pulsing ones and presses it into Gris's hand, and sort of like puts it there and closes her fingers around it.
Gris is like immediately kind of looking at the woman, looking down at her palm, looking back at the woman. Can I roll to see if I recognize this, Jenny?
Yes, you can. That's gonna be a nature check.
A nature check.
Could like hear the grin in your voice there, Jenny. Like, yes,
I rolled an
you
8.
Can.
An 8 plus 3, so 11.
You've never seen anything like this before in your life.
So at this point,
unlike anything you've ever seen.
And it's, you said pulsing, correct? With like some sort of natural light?
Like some kind of light that glows from within it.
So Gris is kind of turning it over in her hand, and she kind of cups her hands together to watch it glow, and then kind of looks up at Galen and says, "Do you see this? It's glowing."
Galen looks down at it and says, "Yeah, sure is."
Gris is a little perturbed by this answer, but kind of like brushes it off and looks to the woman and says, "What is this?"
The woman kind of just shakes her head and in Sylvan replies, "For you, no charge," and then sort of sits back down on the ground and seems to just fall asleep.
Gris is kind of shocked and still looking at this herb and still trying to figure it out, but then just slowly slips it into her bag and turns to Galen and says, "Okay, we can go back now."
Do you want anything else here?
No, I think that this is probably all I need.
Are you sure? And Galen keeps like glancing towards the sleeping blind lady.
Gris does not pick up on this whatsoever. Is still absolutely shocked. Number one, that the woman spoke Sylvan. And number 2, that she just seems to have given her this herb that she's never seen before. So she's like incredibly excited and kind of like tugging at her satchel a little because she kind of wants to spend more time looking at it, but knows that they're in a bit of a hurry. So she's just kind of, no, let's go back.
Whoa, hold on. Can I look around the city to see if I can see any thieves' cant like around the shop?
Yes.
Okay.
Rob the blind lady.
Listen, easy target.
Can I roll a perception check to see if Gris realizes that he's trying to figure out if he's gonna rob this?
Let's have Galen roll perception for Thieves' Camp first.
Okay.
20 plus 3, 23.
Wow.
Literally written across the awning says, wandering hands are removed.
Galen looks down at Gris and goes, well, we're leaving. Let's go.
Gris just kind of happily follows and tries to keep pace with Galen, and is a little confused by how quickly he changed his mind about staying. And she kind of says, is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine. Let's just go. Be thankful you got that while you did. And he kind of like pushes her along and she's just like, let's go.
She's just like, okay.
So I assume Leon and Ari see them coming back?
Yes. I have no idea what you've been doing for this past 2 minutes. Probably just like, Ari, no thoughts, head empty. It's kind of
chilling. She's like, Leon's like standing in the middle of the square, tapping her foot, just being like,
so
waste of time.
So Gris.
So she looks at them. Oh no, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say Gris realizes that Leon looks angry, and she kind of rushes up to her.
She doesn't look angry. She just looks bored and
perturbed or a little over it.
Yeah, just a little antsy, if you will.
Galen stops and starts doing the same exact thing, just to mock Leon.
But Gris is oblivious to Galen and just kind of runs up to Leon and pulls up her satchel and says, Leon, look, and flashes what's inside her bag.
So Leon looks at the mushroom, and does she see this as something strange? Does she recognize this as something weird?
Let's get a magic check.
Can I roll to recognize it?
Yes, you're gonna roll a nature check.
Nature. I was gonna say nature.
How do I? Where's my magic?
I believe that's your
in
wisdom
your
modifier.
heart.
I think it's the same as wisdom.
One. I don't jack shit
Still
today.
didn't hear you. I'm sorry, Jenny. What did you say?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Oh God, I know where it is on the thing now.
So Ari, you're like.
Well, I got a 9.
So you recognize it as being strange and potentially imbued with some kind of natural magic. Ari, your first thought is like, I wonder what would happen if I crushed that up and tried to smoke it.
Okay.
Oh,
So
wait,
Leon looks at it and she goes, that looks vaguely magical. I couldn't tell you what it is, but that doesn't seem natural.
Well, vaguely magical, it's glowing!
That's exactly what I mean. It's just, what's the magic involved is the real question.
Chris is like, I don't know, but
We'll
it's
have to
cool.
find that out.
I've never
I
seen
feel like that is something for us to investigate.
Can I interject here?
Yes, go for it. Just be assertive. Go for it whenever you feel
all
like
right.
it.
Hey, Gris, let me see that again.
Only if you promise not to steal it.
Scout's honor or whatever.
Chris kind of processing if she believes Galen and then realizes he's been here this long, I might as well trust him. And then flashes him the herb again.
Can I roll a check to see if this is something that I've seen like sold on my black market back home?
Yes, absolutely. That's gonna be a wisdom check.
Wisdom? Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll find it on your sheet faster than I did on mine.
Fuck, okay, this better be a damn good roll.
Mood.
20 plus 1.
Are you kidding me? You got 20s in a row.
Your dice are enchanted. Legitimately enchanted.
You have
You're
never
jinxing
seen
my
this
rolls.
before. At all. You have no idea what this is, but you are absolutely certain that it would fetch a high price on the black market.
Yum.
So you're actually pretty
So,
surprised that
Leon-
the woman gave it to her for free.
Right. All right. Cool. It's it's a glowy thing, and Galen tries to like hide his like glint in his eye or something. Just like, all right, yeah, that's cool, whatever.
Chris
Should
is
you be rolling deception for that? And should we be rolling perception for that?
Galen, do you intend to steal it?
No.
Okay, then there's no need.
Yeah.
I
I'm
do
not
have-
too
I have a
pressed
quick-
then.
A quick question out of character. Does Galen realize that she gave it to me? Because does Galen speak Sylvan?
No, Galen just saw that you didn't exchange money for it.
But he didn't question it, I guess.
Yeah.
Leon looks at the group and says, "Okay, are we done with the herbs now? Are we done with the shrooms?"
I mean, we're never done with
Go-
herbs and
something for you.
shrooms.
I understand, Gris, and honestly, I have so much respect for it. You need shoes.
Chris at this point is less excited about the shoes, especially since she has her fun new herb in her satchel. So she kind of like clutches her satchel, like holds it tight under her arm, and says, "But are shoes even comfortable?"
No, they're
Find
not.
you.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
I don't want to lie to you.
Galen crouches down to Gris and like looks her in the eye and goes, "Just if you see a pair of shoes that you fancy, just give me a tug, okay?"
And Chris is just kind of like, "A tug?"
Just
That-
tug on my sleeve, pull on my
Listen to him.
sleeve.
Don't. Oh my
Okay.
god.
I don't know that
Yes.
I'm gonna fancy shoes if they're not comfy.
Well, you don't really have a choice here. We're stuck with Lady Loyalty
Quicker
or
we're into
whatever
it,
her
quicker
name
we're
is.
out of it. I say let's go.
Anyways, okay. So Leon looks at the group and says, "Okay, let's shoes, clothing. We need to get ready for tonight. Let's go." And she starts motioning towards the shopping section direction that we need to go to find the clothing.
So,
So-
Leon, as you kind of shepherd your herd of cats down the street, there is a shop that catches your eye. It's got this beautifully painted sign that says in wonderful elven scripture, Raphael's Finery. And you can see through this beautiful glass window just bolts of the most beautiful fabric you've ever seen and just incredible clothing.
Go in.
You're gonna go
Going in. Oh yeah, we're going in.
Do we have to?
Absolutely, Ariadne.
Chris is
Going
kind
to a
of
soiree tonight.
Chris is looking up at the sign, and even though she does speak Elvish, is having a hard time on the word finery. So she turns to Leon and says, "What is that last? I cannot make it out. That last word."
Finery.
Very high
Finery.
quality clothing.
She kind of grunts.
So Leon walks in the door, and you guys follow?
Galen
Begrudgingly.
waits outside.
Yes, with a heavy sigh.
Leon keeps the door open and looks at Galen outside.
He just shakes his head no.
Just looks at him. Galen, you can't stand.
I-
Do you really want to stand out? Isn't part of being good at
Before they start
whatever it is that
arguing-
you do?
No.
fitting in?
Before they even start talking again, I turn around, I grab Galen's hand, and I just pull him.
Galen lets out a grunt.
Thank you, Ariadne.
Gris kind of says, "You have to come in if I'm supposed to tug."
Galen like face palms.
At
Okay.
this point,
They're like yeah.
there is a man in the store. He's dressed
There we go.
very well, kind of in the clothes of a tailor. He is a high elf man. He's probably 200 and something. You know, he looks like a refined man in his 40s. High cheekbones, very classic high elf features. His hair is trimmed very neatly. He stands before you all, and sort of takes you all in. And he says in a sort of soft-spoken, gentle way, "May I help you?"
Krista says, "He looks fancy."
He smiles a little bit at that comment. "Hello, madam."
Leon holds out her hand, like the way that like ladies do, like, you know, she just holds out her hand as if he's like supposed to grab it, and she says, "I'm Lady Leon LaBelle. We are attending a soiree tonight, and I need some clothing for myself and my team, some finery, which it seems as though you are a specialty store for that."
He gently takes your hand and gives it a light kiss, and then sort of bows and is like, "My lady, I would be more than happy to. In fact," and he sort of like takes in your party, and he gets this real big smile. And this is a soft-spoken man, but he says with like true passion, "I will make them my masterpieces." And he sort of and he starts actually with Gris, and he sort of awkwardly like crouches down to be on her eye level and goes, "My lady, has anyone told you have some of the most beautiful hair I've ever seen?"
Gris kind of...
as he does that, just still stuck on Leon speaking, because brain cell, Ari goes, "Why is it called a soiree?"
Gris kind of like looks at Ariadne and kind of just like nods, and then turns to the man with her long kind of, you know, red and gray kind of fiery hair. She's got a couple of like accoutrements, and there's some, you know, beads and maybe a leaf or two, and kind of just holds her braid and looks up to him. "No?"
He sort of goes, "Oh, well, that's a shame. Here," and he sort of guides her to a conveniently located, like little kind of stool, and sort of points to it as if kind of motioning for her to stand on it so that they can be more on eye level. And he steps back and sort of pensively taps his temples, and then casts a glance over to Leon and Ari and Galen, is like, "Can I interest you in any tea while we're working together?"
Sure.
Absolutely.
And he does sort of a flick of his wrist, and a tea kettle sort of flies out from underneath the counter, and it is full of hot tea, and sort of begins pouring itself into conveniently levitating teacups.
At this point, Gris kind of turns to him while atop the stool and says, "Do you have any mushroom tea?"
He sort of blinks and he goes, "My husband drinks that all the time," and like sort of does another kind of flick of his wrist, and the teapot empties itself into 3 cups, and then sort of refills with hot water almost magically, and some mushrooms drift up from underneath the counter and start steeping themselves.
At this point, Gris is thoroughly enthused and probably will do anything this man asks.
Leon is like, this is something that she's perfectly used to, so this is just normal to her. She like grabs the teacup gently, she's got her pinky out, like she's ready. This is something, I was born for this, baby, let's go. Right?
Okay.
Like
I'm as I'm watching all of this, full just like grab my cup, just not gentle or anything, just like grab it and go to a corner and plop my ass down and just kind of like.
Galen is just like increasingly uncomfortable with what's going on, considering his surroundings, all the finery stuff, all the prim and proper formalities and all that, and he's just got his arms crossed and he's leaning against like one of the walls, and is just observing things with a slight look of disgust on his face.
The man has kind of
Leon looks so. Oh no, you go.
Presumably Raphael has kind of tuned everyone but Gris out, and is kind of levitating fabrics, bolts of fabric up, and kind of looking at them compared to her, and casts a look over his shoulder to Leon and goes, "You, lady, my lady,
LaBelle?
which one?" And he points to a fawn-colored bolt of fabric and a moss-colored velvet.
Moss velvet, please.
And he sort of nods and goes back to work and has very obviously tuned everyone out while he's doing this.
Chris is a little overwhelmed by everything going on and kind of just watching things happen. And she says,
Go ahead.
And she's like, what exactly are we doing right now?
We are getting you a wonderful outfit, Chris.
Okay.
It's okay.
How's your mushroom tea?
Fabulous.
Is Galen doing that in character right now?
Yup.
Galen looks to Galen and says, Galen,
What?
you please put the knife away.
Galen rolls his eyes and puts his knife away.
Is there a teacup for Galen?
Yes, there is. I believe it is still levitating unless he took it out of the air.
Galen just lifted
So
it.
Leon grabs the teacup for Galen, walks it over to him, and says, "For your hands. Oh, you don't do that again. Please.
Galen
I'm begging you, Galen."
It and like mocks her, like, for your hands only. And kind of turns around.
All right. At this point,
Leon-
Raphael sort of gestures over towards the corner towards Ari and goes, "Wood Elf." Also, at this point, Gris, there is like magic needles sort of sewing things that have been pinned to you, and like you're sort of having to stand very still while you hold this cup of tea, and he points and he says, "Wood Elf."
Yes.
And he sort of does like a one finger gesture and to summon you over.
This is kind of uncomfortable.
The man sighs and does a little flick of his wrist, and the clothes kind of unwrap themselves from you, Gris, and then reform themselves in the shape of your body adjacent to you, and the sewing continues. And he
That's
goes,
pretty cool.
You can sit down.
Chris takes her cup of mushroom tea, steps off the stool, and kind of scurries over to where Galen is and sits down next to him.
I just set my cup down, not that gently, beside me, and like awkwardly make my way to standing, and just kind of take a couple steps at a time over. Just like, is this far enough?
Raphael sort of takes a step back to take you in, and he puts his fingers to his temples again, as he did with Gris, and then he sort of touches his chest as in an act of sympathy, and he goes, "There is a sadness within you."
Yeah, I don't want to be here.
He shakes his head and he's like, no, that's not it. And he starts pulling out bolts of fabric again and sort of levitating them by you. And he pauses and he goes, "It's not good to keep those things bottled up, you know." And then he sort of looks over to the gathered group and goes, "Which one?" And at this point, there's kind of this green sort of linen fabric and a golden fabric kind of option that he's presenting to the group.
I'm just okay, and my reaction is just literally everything kind of tensing and kind of shutting down. I will try to hide it, so I can roll for that if you want, but I don't know if the others could tell.
Yeah, let's have you roll a deception check. Everyone else, what is your passive
Should
perception?
we all roll perception?
I believe that
what?
you have a
Passive
passive perception.
Yeah, should have it.
13.
My passive perception is 12.
Find that.
I've got 14.
It's
Oh, mine's 12. My passive perception is 12.
you rolled a 14.
Yeah,
No one can
13
tell.
plus 1.
However, Raphael kind of casts you a look out of his corner of his eye, and
Can I give him a not so subtle, and this one they can notice if they want, a not so subtle fuck you stare?
yeah, and he sort of in Elvish whispers like, I'm sorry. I should have said nothing. And then,
I can understand that, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
you and
probably.
Gris can also understand that.
I'll just
Okay.
like soften and like kind of give the smallest of nods, like fine. Like you're forgiven, but like I'm angry.
Okay, alright.
Leon can sense the tension, so she kind of goes, I like the gold.
But I like the green. It's quite foresty. I think
I
it
also
suits
like-
Ariadne.
You're wearing green though, my dear.
I like green.
We can both wear green. We both like herbs.
Dylan,
I
what do
would
you
agree.
think? Say the gold.
Well, if there's anything I know about you nobility, it's that you hate it when others wear the same color as you do. So Ariadne, I'm sorry, but just to make Leon shut up, please wear the gold.
Thank you, Galen.
Gris kind of frowns and looks, lovingly at her friend Ariadne.
I just turn and say, I already said fine. It's like not because
Thank you,
not because you
Ariadne.
said that.
Thank you,
Raphael sort of
Ariadne.
nods and he pulls a couple of pins from his ears, and you realize that his ears are pierced and he's been using them for the storage of sewing needles and pins. And does a flick of his wrist
Radical.
and
Oh my god.
the pin kind of like holds itself in place, and he goes about his business, sort of once again tuning out the entirety of the conversation.
At this point, I think Gris is just trying to like interact with Galen as best she can, and notices that Galen hasn't been drinking his tea, and so she holds up her cup of mushroom tea excitedly and kind of shoves it right in his face and says, "You should try this. I think you'll like it a lot better."
I love
Galen,
this so
like-
much.
Galen looks down at Gris and he's having a hard time just like
No.
looking at something so pure. The literal complete opposite of who he is. And he just mutters to himself, "I'm not the biggest fan of mushrooms."
Chris is just kind of oblivious as usual. Sometimes when I'm having a weird day, I like to sit in the forest and sip on mushroom tea. It makes me feel so much better. I really think it'll help you have a better day.
Oh,
That's great that it works for you, ma'am, but I don't.
Galen,
think it
and I
would have
give
the
him
same for
the
me.
like the same look he gave me with his little "just wear the gold" speech, and I say, "Just drink the tea, Galen."
Just drink it.
Galen like flashes daggers at Ariadne and it's like takes a deep breath and just says, "Fine." And then he takes his cup and he walks to the other end of the store to just be away from everyone else and just sips on his tea begrudgingly.
And at this point, Chris is like, "Tea? But you just a sip. I kind of want the rest back." I'm just kind of like,
We can ask for more. It's literally infinitely refillable.
Leon can hear all of this, right?
Yes, you are, at this point, it seems, just kind of watching this all go down.
Just, yeah. Leon looks, because she's like very much so of the mindset of like, okay, this man is doing us a favor. We need to help him out as much as possible, which means we don't need to be asking him for infinite cups of tea because Galen is stealing them from Gris. So Leon looks at Galen and she kind of just goes, "Let's go. Come back.
Galen
Just needs
kind
the
of
cup
just like
back."
waves his hand.
Am I
And he
still
points to his cup that he left over there. Just be like,
am I still standing in the
mushroom.
same being sewn around, or has Raphael also done what he did with Gris?
So you have not made any kind of noises about being uncomfortable, so he's
Yeah.
still in charge of...
Ariadne's standing there like, I hate it here.
Yes, and at any point at which you try to like move your head to look at your friends, he sort of makes like a little tisk sound underneath his breath as if you were interrupting his work.
Oh,
And I
you
feel
know
like
what? Can I roll to notice that?
The tisking?
Yeah.
No,
Or can I
you
just-
notice. It's passive aggressive.
it's aggressive. At this
I
point,
think he wants you to know.
In that moment, I was just before I was about to say I was uncomfortable. In that moment, I decide to stay right where I fucking am.
at this point, I think Gris has realized she's called a little bit of a commotion, and she's like, "It's fine. He's having a bad day."
Leon looks at Gris and goes, it is not fine. Just give me 1 moment. I'll be back.
And
give me
she's
one
just like,
moment."
Leon,
walks-
it's fine. It's
It's okay. It's fine. Shh, Gris. Shh. It's fine. Shh. Relax. I've got this. Leon walks over to Galen, politely stands in front of him. She grabbed his cup of tea as she was walking by. Says, Galen,
What?
can I please have Gris's mug back?
Is it not the same tea?
I'll give you yours. It is not. It is specifically mushroom tea for Gris and tea for the rest of us.
At this point,
So could
the mug
you maybe do a little swap?
sort of takes itself out of Galen's hands and floats back to Gris. And Raphael turns his head perturbed and goes, "If you are done acting like a child, I will have you next." And he sort of like casts a look at Galen and he's like, "Brooding man."
I give a loud single, ha!
Leon immediately takes like a sick joy in this because she knows how much Galen is hating it, okay? So she follows and she's like hovering around them to watch it.
Galen looks at Leon and just with like the most hateful look in his eyes just says, "Back off."
I just doing my job.
Raphael, at this
Make you all
point,
look good.
has
But you're not,
pretended
though.
to ignore
Nice
you.
job.
But he sort of mutters under his breath to Galen, "You know, there are much easier ways to get a lady's attention than being contrary." And
Oh my god. I'm gonna shut my window. 1 second. There's like a fucking motorcycle
Perfect.
outside. Jesus Christ.
and as if he has
sorry.
said nothing, just sort of returns to like holding up bolts of fabric.
Galen just doesn't say anything. He hates this too much. He's just gonna be silent.
So what do the bolts of fabric look like?
So Raphael sort of takes a step back and does his thing where he holds his temples and sort of looks at what will be his masterpiece and crosses his arm and clears his throat a little bit and goes, "So much black, and yet a royal blue or a cobalt would look so much better, don't you think?" And he sort of looks over to Leon for her approval.
Absolutely not. Galen
Question is,
yelled at the top of his lungs.
Galen says absolutely not. Leon looks to Galen and says, "We find a compromise? Perhaps a midnight blue?"
Raphael sort of sighs and shakes his head and does a little flick of his wrist, and out comes like a dark but still very obviously blue color, and he goes, "I could make the pants black."
So out of character, can I roll an intimidation check
I
to
mean, you
intimidate him into making it black?
absolutely can. I will be interested to see how this goes. I need you to know
Okay.
that this man is like a level 20 warlock.
Can I? Yeah. I give him, pushing my luck, I give him the same look about the gold dress and the key and the tea.
So he sort of brushes off your look with an informal hand
I wanted
gesture.
to make it known that I made it.
At this point, Gris is like, "Can I have pants?"
And he nods and he's like, I'm making you pants anyways.
Just kind of nodding.
Leon looks at Galen and says, Galen, this is one evening. I'm not asking you to revamp your whole wardrobe for the time that we're spending together. I want one soiree in a midnight blue jacket.
As soon as she finishes that speech, I just like swivel my head over, look at him, and say, "There'll be plenty of drunk nobles."
Please don't rob anyone.
Galen like
Oh my God.
starts like nibbling on his fingernail, kind of like thinking about it, like thinking it over.
At this point, Raphael very softly goes, do you remember what I said about being contrary?
Galen looks at him angrily. And so I'm gonna try this intimidation roll.
Go for it, go for it.
Go for it. I want to see this.
16.
Raphael sort of lets out a little laugh and is like, you're like a kitten with a ball of yarn.
I love kittens.
Stewing in hatred right now. He's so angry that his he just unconsciously starts cracking his knuckles and puts his hand on his sheath.
Oh, no need to be so dramatic.
Leon puts her hands together in excitement.
I'm like, you do remember last night, don't you?
No need to be so dramatic, and he sort of lets out a long sigh and pulls out a darker blue, nearly midnight blue bolt of fabric and goes, will this do, your liege? And like sort of hits Galen with the sass that Galen's been dealing.
Galen rolls his eyes and says, I don't have a choice.
At this point,
Sounds like gently nodding to that.
Raphael sort of goes back to fitting things and sort of arranges it on Galen's form and pins it into place and sort of takes a look at Galen's hair and goes, would you like something to tie that back?
Galen looks at him and says, don't touch my hair.
Raphael seems actually fairly amused by this and lets out a laugh and kind of goes back to pinning, and there's clear that in his mind there's no hard feelings about the little hissy fit that Galen just threw.
Just threw.
Leon like quickly pipes up and says, could you pull your hair out maybe?
No.
This evening? Could you maybe
No.
do that? Please.
No.
Galen, please.
No. No.
Gris looks across the room to Galen since he's now firmly separated himself from her. I could braid it if you want.
That's a great idea. Maybe not. Actually,
I think it would look really good. Very handsome, super
Frelyn,
long.
next thing you know, she'll be asking for a haircut.
I'm not. Well.
Raphael sort of lets out another laugh and, ever observant, says to Galen, you do a lot of swimming.
Galen is visibly upset at this.
And we can all tell.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hide it at this point. So Galen's like visibly distraught at this man.
Okay.
And he's angry enough to the point where he's so close to just punching him in the face and walking out of the store.
Raphael sort of takes a step back and lets his magic needles do the work, sort of sensing that he's touched a nerve, and goes, Milady, I believe it's your turn?
Yes. Leon's like, yes, let's go.
For Leon, he sort of steps back and he goes, I have just the thing. And sort of whips out two bolts of fabric. One which is this brilliant crimson and the other is this shiny gold. And he goes, choose.
Crimson. Leon knows right away. Crimson is the answer.
He nods approvingly and sort of waves his hand and everything sort of comes to life. And so he steps back. All of you except for Gris are now kind of awkwardly standing there. Except for, I assume, Leon, who's used to this kind of thing. as these
Absolutely.
pins and these noodles are moving in kind of a flurry. It's very impressive, the speed at which these clothes are being made. And he sort of crosses his arm and he goes, "If I'm not being too forward, may I ask how such a conglomeration came to be? You just don't seem quite like a group I would expect to encounter."
Like all
We
things,
are
we
working
drank.
together towards a common goal.
Like all things, we drank.
Some of us more than others.
Looks at Leon. I'm just like, excuse you.
Leon goes, "We are here on a little bit of a research mission. We're working together. We're just here on a research mission, mostly looking for some information in the library."
He nods thoughtfully and he's like, that's good. But may I ask why you are in need of such finery?
Chris immediately jumps in and says, "Soirée!"
Leon says, "Do you actually? This is a very good question. I don't know that much about Frelyn. Can you tell me anything about the Laneros family?"
The man pauses for a moment thinking, and he goes, "Well, I know the son quite well."
Gabriel?
Yes, Gabriel.
Please tell me everything you know.
He's a very kind man. You know he was knighted by the king a few years back? Something
not.
about saving children or burning buildings or something. All very cliche, but quite impressive. The daughter's odd, but most nobility has an odd child here or there. No offense intended, present company excluded.
Untaken.
But yes, the son is a kind and generous man from all I know, and he does come by.
I give a squinty-eyed look at Galen. Just sus.
Galen's like ear twitched when he heard the word generous.
Raphael kind of
Leon takes a moment.
shoots a look over at Galen and Ari, and he's like, "No need to be jealous, you two."
I wasn't.
Leon looks back and says, "But what is the... Sir, you run a finery shop, which means I know you serve the finest. What do the other nobles say about the Laneros family?
They're very well
What
respected.
would they want me to know?"
I believe they've made most of their money in exchange with the dwarves, precious metals, and things like that. They are very well respected. Gabriel has quite the reputation. Women are seeking to betroth their daughters to him constantly, but so far, I do not believe he's taken a wife.
Okay. There is nothing negative ever said about this family?
Something about the father's participation in the Great War was a little questionable.
Okay.
That's how they got their contacts with the elves, but with the dwarves. But other than that, I haven't heard anything particularly bad. No.
Gris kind of looks to the tailor and says, "So who's getting engaged?"
Yeah, Gris. Let's go.
The tailor sort of laughs, and he goes, "Why? You must be referring to Adriana. I haven't heard that she's been engaged, but I would not be surprised. She has been courted quite often recently by Alexandre Valerius," and he sort of looks at Leon as if she would know who this is. You know, the heir to the fortune of the Valerius crown.
Does Leon know this just off the top of her head?
You know that this is some kind of very well-to-do nobility. You believe this man is a half-elf, actually, that he's talking about.
Okay. And what was his name again? What was it?
Alexandre Valerius.
Alexandre. She looks at Raphael and she says, "I do know of that family."
He nods and is obviously like very excited to dispel more gossip if that's what she's looking for.
Please, do you know how this relationship came about? What do you know about Alexandre? What do you know about Alexandre and Adriana? What is the relationship here? I haven't heard about this.
He laughs and he goes, you know how nobles are with their courting and their arrangements. Yes. I believe that it is, at its core, a business relationship, but they do seem to have quite a bit of love between the two.
A business relationship? Gris immediately kind of scoffs and kind of mutters under her breath, business.
The man gets a good-natured chuckle and he's like, I do believe that relationships should be for love, but you know nobles.
Gris flashes him a smile in agreement.
Do you believe the Lineros family is using the Valray family? Is that how you pronounce it?
Valriath.
Valriath. Do you believe that the Lineros family is using the Valriath family, or vice versa? Is there something strange going on there?
He laughs it off, and he's like, no, I believe that they are using each other as much as nobles do when they marry off their children. But I believe it would be profitable to both families. The rumor holds that this arrangement has existed long before the children were even born.
Ah, so their families have known each other a while.
Oh yes, lots of business dealings between the two, as there are with many nobles.
You said you said you didn't know they were engaged. If they're so noble, wouldn't they have announced it?
Well, it sounds as if you are going to their announcement party tonight, are you not?
That's correct.
I don't know.
Sorry.
That's exactly where we're going, Ariadne. It's okay. Is what Gabriel has told us we will be attending this evening. It is an engagement party.
I thought it was a soiree.
I also thought it was a soiree.
The same thing, Gris.
What's the difference between a soiree?
It all means the same thing.
No one did answer my question.
The same. Interconnected. It's good. Don't worry. It's fine.
Okay.
Good.
Raphael takes a step back and sort of gestures to Grace, and he goes, "My lady, would you try this on?" And at this point, he sort of reveals this fully assembled moss-colored velvet tunic, and a soft brown shirt to go underneath. There's like golden clasps that seem to hold the tunic closed. And he also reveals a light brown pair of linen pants and presents to you, with his hands, a set of soft, golden-toned velvet foot wraps. And he says, I thought perhaps you would be more comfortable in these.
Chris is immediately hype as hell. They're not shoes! Thank you! I love these! And starts kind of putting them on herself in a haphazard way, sitting on the stool she was standing on earlier, and kind of making a bit of a ruckus, and then immediately sticks a leg in the air and says, what do you think? Completely disregarding the rest of the outfit, for the record.
Leon's heart is melting.
Oh.
She's overjoyed, absolutely overjoyed to see Gris so excited. And she looks at them and she says, they look wonderful. And I bet they'll look amazing with the whole outfit. Can you show us the whole outfit?
And Gris kind of looks at the outfit he's holding and she's like, it is green. Okay. Changes quickly and then stands back up on the stool so everyone can see her small frame.
Galen,
jokingly
amazing. Bows before Gris.
And Gris holds out her hand to Galen and says, I'm a lady, didn't you know?
No.
Galen just looks up at her and says...
Dawn's doing the little hand clap. She's so stoked.
Yeah, I completely turn and just to look at Gris and just say, you look very pretty. Completely disregarding the stitching that was going on and probably angering Raphael in the process.
At this point, before anything else happens, Gris jumps happily off the stool and kind of just starts kind of twirling around the room and running back over to her mushroom tea.
Nice. Perfect.
Raphael sort of nods in approval and he's like, yes. And then he turns to Ari and sort of does a quick flick of his hand and the needles sort of disappear and he steps back and he goes, what do we think? And Ari, who's now in a completed outfit, is wearing a a golden hued, sort of longer tunic, beneath which is a rusty colored, simple yet elegant shirt, and a pair of cream colored velvet pants. He also presents to them, sort of awkwardly, a set of green foot wraps, and is like it's sort of implied, like, yours are filthy, please take these.
Please wear these desperately.
So you're competent.
And says, that gold looks great. Oh, the gold looks so good. Do you not agree, Galen? Do you not agree, Gris? The gold looks so good.
Gris is just looking at the pants and looks at Ariane and says, "You have pants too!"
I do have pants too. So I kind of nod and I sit down and I start like undoing my wraps and doing the other ones, just like, all right, not as bad as I thought, so I suppose you did a good job. And just
her
looks
way
at
of
Leon.
saying thank you, Leon says to Raphael. That's her way of, or their way of saying thank you.
Raphael sort of like tisks a little bit and casts a look over to Galen, whose clothes are about now half done, and sort of looks at him pensively, and then turns back to Leon and does like a little flick of his wrist, and everything speeds up very quickly, sort of trapping Leon in one spot so that she's frozen, and steps away and looks at her and is like, my masterpiece. And Leon is now in this red dress with billowing long sleeves, and this long skirt that clings to her hips but then flares outward to sort of twirl out at the bottom. And of course, being Leon, it is rather low cut with this sort of deep V that shows off the amulet that she always wears. And he nods approvingly. He's not even looking for praise here, but he turns to the party and is like, what do you think?
I think you look incredible, Leon.
Thank you, Gris.
Wow. And Gris kind of starts tugging at parts of the
Leon
dress.
looks at Ari and Galen.
I
I
cannot take my eyes off Leon, and I am doing my best with all of my training to slow down my heartbeat so the others don't notice.
Do we notice? Do we roll perception and
Do I roll
notice?
deception?
I think that the only person who has
Who
a
might
high
notice
enough
would be Leon.
would be either Leon, Galen, or Raphael. I think that Gris, at this point, you're too far away. You're sort of touching Leon's stuff, like dress. You can roll deception.
Should I roll perception?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's have Galen and Leon roll perception.
Alright, I got 17 minus 1, 16. Doing better.
I got a 17.
I got a 17 as well.
All right, so Ari, you are doing your best not to show your emotions here, but there's like a pink flush to your cheeks. Galen and Leon, you definitely notice their sort of like flustered behavior.
My
Leon is used to
vibe,
this.
my vibe, at least towards Galen, is whatever you think you see, no you didn't.
Galen just looks over at Ari and just nods in agreement. Just, yep, you can think that.
I'm so mad Gris doesn't notice. I'm so mad.
Raphael sort of smiles knowingly at the two at Galen and Ari, and he's like, "She looks beautiful, doesn't she?"
Galen just looks at Leo and like dead in the face and goes, "It's all right."
Thank you, Galen.
So red's your color. What about it?
Thank you, Ari. Leon obviously is like, I see through you. I appreciate it no matter what.
At this point, Raphael is finished with Galen's outfit and steps back, revealing him dressed in this midnight blue. He tisks. He obviously thinks it's far too close to the usual black. Midnight blue doublet that's fastened by golden buttons that are actually in the shape of seashells. A very nice touch, if Raphael does say so himself. Paired with like sleek black pants. And he nods approvingly. He's like, yes, I have done it. I have created the most handsome of men. And he's like, you look ravishing.
Leon looks at Raphael. Leon looks at Raphael and says, you are just so wonderful. You are just so wonderful, Raphael. You are just wonderful. She looks at Galen. She says, Galen.
What?
You look great. Look great.
Gris walks.
She's not being sarcastic or rude. She's being serious.
Gris walks up to Galen at this point and kind of like she did with Leon, just quickly tugs on his jacket and mutters, "You told me to tell you if I see anything I like."
Oh!
And then says, "You look rather handsome, Galen."
Galen bites on his knuckle.
Broken.
Oh, I just not even meaning to interject through that lovely thing, just because oblivious. Just goes like, "Hey, it matches your bruise."
Raphael kind of chuckles and turns a knowing eye to Galen and is like, in case you are wondering, that is how you get a lady's attention. And at this point, turns to Leon as if he didn't say anything knowledgeable at all, and says, "Now, my lady, I believe we should discuss price."
Certainly.
Oh.
He sort of nods and looks over it, and he's like, "Let's call it 25 gold. You, my lady, are my muse, and your dress is free."
Thank you, sir. Leon just easily grabs 25 gold from her purse and just hands it to him. It's nothing.
He sort of counts it and nods, and he turns and he clasps his hand and he looks everyone in the eyes and he goes, "Remember what I said." And he gives a pointed look to Ari, and then a pointed look to Galen, and then he pats Grace on her head and is like, "Your hair is still lovely, by the way."
Oh.
Gris just smiles, really wide up at him.
I just say, bluntly, not harshly, not anything, just you overestimate my memory. Just take what you will out of that. And then I'm just looking at Leon Angie, with that same look from last time when I gave her my 2 silver pieces, because you didn't have to fucking do that. But also, I don't have the money, so.
Does Leon clock that?
Probably, yeah.
I'm not trying to. I'm being very obvious, so I should.
Yeah. So Leon looks at Ariadne and says, "I didn't ask you to pay. I insisted. This is mine to cover."
Raphael kind of hands the folded clothes that you were wearing beforehand to Galen to deal with, and is like, "Here."
Shove it. And Galen takes the clothes and just walks away.
Galen.
Raphael seems absolutely entertained by this reaction and nods again to Lady LaBelle and says, "Lady LaBelle, if you ever need anything the next time you're in Frelyn, please do not hesitate to ask."
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Raphael. You have absolutely saved us today. Cannot thank you enough.
He
We
nods.
were in danger. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
So, what time is it now? Now that we're leaving? Yeah, exactly.
You step
now
outside,
that we're leaving the store.
and the sun is beginning to set.
As we step outside, though, Gris kind of wanders over to Galen and says, "I need my tunic," and starts kind of ruffling through the pile of clothes that Galen has been given from the tailor, and immediately reaches into her pocket and pulls out what seems like an absurdly large amount of herbs, and just kind of holds them close and shoves them in her bag real quick.
So
Jones
wait,
Chris, I adore you, but do you need that right now?
I just didn't want to lose them. You have to keep your herbs on you at all times. It's just what a druid does.
Okay. Leon just lets it go. She's got them all in outfits. She's like, take what you can get, Leon. Take what you can get. Saying it to herself, take what you can get.
Still in their own world, just trying to think of like something that might please Leon. I turn in and at least go, at least my hilt kind of matches the shirt, right?
Looks great, Ari.
Like the hilt of my sword.
Wonderful.
Because I'm not taking it off.
Yeah. It looks wonderful, and you can keep your sword. Don't worry.
It wasn't up for discussion, but good.
I know. I'm just confirming for you. We should head to this engagement party at the Lineros Manor.
Okay, I have a question real quick.
Go for it.
So Galen's wearing kind of like a button-down jacket, right?
Yeah, it's a doublet, so it's like a long sleeve, sort of fitted at the chest shirt.
Love me a good doublet.
Yeah.
Is he wearing anything underneath that?
No, this is a shirt that you would wear.
This is just a shirt. Okay, never mind then.
Please do not go to this party shirtless.
Well,
My stress level just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what a doublet was, so I was thinking it was like a kind of like a fancy schmancy jacket or whatever. So I was gonna have Galen just like cut off the
you
buttons.
you kind of have that right. If you were wearing a chemise under it, it would kind of be like having your bralette showing. That's what it would be like.
Okay, wait, out of character, a doublet is... Did you play Witcher 3?
Yes, yeah.
So a doublet is what Witcher puts on, like, when he needs to dress nicely. It's that, like, weird shirt that's kind of got, like, a little bit of structure to it.
Yeah.
Geralt has to see the Emperor.
But also you would absolutely wear an actual, like, shirt chemise under it.
Right, but it's like an undershirt.
Exactly.
It would be, like, weird to show up in it. It would be like going somewhere in your undies.
Yeah. So, point stands, don't go shirtless.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Be good.
Be a good noodle.
Okay.
Leon is like, the doublet is nice. That's all she says, just the doublet is nice.
Galen just doesn't say anything and just fucking just holds the pile of clothes and just keeps walking.
What are we gonna do with that pile of clothes is the real question.
Maybe someone has a bag you could put it in?
I have a satchel.
Yeah. I
Chris, can we put our clothing in your satchel?
I'll have to... She opens her satchel and looks in. Move some herbs around. But that's fine. They might smell a little funny, but what's worse than nature smells? It's the best. And just kind of start carefully putting the clothes around her herbs. And especially that special herb from earlier.
Okay, so Leon pulls out the directions to the Lineros Manor, and she says, "All right, let's go party."
All right, so you head down
Let's go drink.
a like side street that stops in front of this beautiful home. It is easily the fanciest house that 3 out of the 4 of you have ever seen. It's this fantastic manor. It's got multiple floors, beautiful stained glass windows, a giant oak door with a beautiful sculpted knocker on it, and it's got all of this beautiful hedgework and everything surrounding it. It is just damned fancy. There's some lanterns burning right by the entrance. It's very welcoming, but also imposingly grand.
Leon is unsurprised. This is something that she's used to, but she's like gently nodding, like, okay.
and Gris is kind of jaw floor, staring up at this, and turns to Leon and says, "This is a house?
A very nice house.
These arts don't look anything like this. Ours are made of stone and like thatched roofs. This is incredible." And she's just like disbelief, like maybe about to cry. We're not sure.
Oh.
But like happy tears.
Galen's like looking around the building, like looking for footholds or bricks that are sticking out that he can climb up. Maybe an open window.
Leon Leon
Arian's just
immediately
staring
looks
at
at
Leon.
him.
Still.
Leon looks at Galen and is like, "Can you, please, the love of all things good, Galen, can you please not rob anyone tonight?
I did this for you.
Let it go the other night.
I did this for you. And he points to himself.
Whole party is for me, Galen. The whole party."
Let me have some fun, please.
Leon runs her fingers through her hair, thinking okay, how can we minimize damage here? How can I minimize damage here? How can I? Okay. She looks at Galen and she says, "I will allow you to consider stealing one low-value thing from one person, no one from the Lineros family, no one from the Valwraith family. And I reserve the right to say no. If you say, that's it, I can say, not that one. Please, Galen, this is so important. This can get us into places that we may not get into otherwise in this town."
All right.
Galen.
All right.
As you're having
someone last night.
As you're having this conversation, the door swings open, and Gabriel is standing there smiling his excited puppy dog smile, dressed in a beautiful light blue doublet and wonderful pants, and he's got gold clasps on his wrist, and he's just grinning at all of you, and he's like, "You came! I am so excited, Lady LaBelle," and he turns to face Leon, and he's just absolutely breathless, and he's like, "I hope I am not crossing any boundaries, but you look ravishing."
Thank you, Sir Lineros.
And he sort of smiles, and as if he's forgotten what he's doing, and just stares at her for a moment. And then breaks out of it and is like, Welcome to my home. I'm so excited to have you here. Please come in." And he sort of gestures.
Leon leads the way.
Yes. I follow, scanning for the open bar I was told would be here.
So he takes Lady LaBelle by the elbow very gently and sort of guides her in as the rest of the party follows, and he's like, "Please follow me to the dining room. You must meet the other guests." And he's very charming this whole time. He guides you all into the dining room, which is huge. In the center there is a long banquet table that is just laden with every kind of food imaginable. There is fish and suckling pig and turkey and spring vegetables and all of this beautiful steaming food, surrounded by goblets of wine that are accompanied with just giant full pitchers of this beautiful purple red hued wine. And he sort of gestures to everyone in the room, and it's probably 10 or so people. It's a smaller party than might be expected. And he goes, "May I introduce Lady LaBelle and her companions. The Lady Gris, Ariadne on Kalte? And he sort of trails off and gestures at Galen and is like, very awkwardly, obviously aware that he never got Galen's name.
And Leon kind of save it.
Yes, go for it.
Leon says, "And Galen wave fair."
Galen just kind of fake bows, mockingly,
Gabriel sort of laughs. He's all very good-natured about this, and he's like, "Lady Leon, please allow me to introduce you to my sister and her betrothed." And he sort of gestures to this beautiful high elf woman with golden blonde hair and in a beautiful sapphire gown, and a man standing next to her who's sort of a darker featured, a half elf man with dark black hair sort of combed backwards into a ponytail, and who's dressed in a black doublet and black pants.
Okay.
Leon holds her hand out. Just says, I'm Lady Leon LaBelle. It's lovely to meet you both.
The woman, Ariana, kind of curtsies, and the man takes your hand very briefly and kisses it, but he's much more awkward than Gabriel, who's just totally in his element here.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel and his sister proceed to engage Leon in conversation, sort of freeing up Ari and Galen and Gris to explore the party or join in as they see fit.
Mm-hmm. Not having found it, I don't think. I just look at Gabriel and ask where the bar is.
He sort of gestures at the table and all the wine available, and he's like, I don't understand your question.
Listen. I just say thank you, and I go, I'll be over there. Don't need me.
Gris is a little.
A second.
Gris is very overwhelmed by the amount of food, the amount of booze, the amount of people, the amount of dresses, and is kind of clutching her beloved staff really close to her chest and kind of eyeing back and forth. And as Ariadne disappears, kind of looks between Leon and looks over to Ariadne and just says to Leon, I think I'll follow them. And kind of takes off in a quick pace with Ariadne.
Leon doesn't actually, like, she acknowledges it and, like, nods, but she doesn't want to fully break away from the conversation with these nobles, because she's trying to, like, grab as much info as she can. So she acknowledges that they've, like, yeeted across the room. More curious what Galen's doing.
So,
A smirk scares me.
So Galen kind of takes a mental note that these people are extremely awkward and kind of just assumes that most, if not all, of the people here are kind of like, their heads are so far up their ass that they're kind of just like ditzy and very like pushover-y kind of.
Gabriel seems nice.
Well, this is where Galen just like turns it on. Like his like prankster side is just like coming out. Like his con artist is like thriving now. When he saw all these fancy people, he just like said to himself, he's like, "All right, let's get to work." And he kind of just starts walking around, and he finds actually he wants to mess with Gabriel a bit, and he walks over to Gabriel and says, "Hey, would you like your fortune told?"
Gabriel sort of looks at Leon as if like he doesn't really know what's happening, and is like, I suppose, yes, that sounds very entertaining. Like he's trying to engage Galen here. He's like, all right, I think Leon's beautiful, and I want her friends to like me so that she likes me. Kind of attitude, you know. He's like, yeah, of course. If this is something you're passionate about, yes, absolutely.
All right, well, let's come over here.
Leon is like looking at Galen like.
Galen sort of just like waggles his finger at Leon, like, stay out of it, like. And he turns to Gabriel and says, "Oh, all right, let's walk over here so we don't intrude on their conversation. That would be rude, wouldn't it?"
Over at the bar, I would like it known that not only have I, grabbed a glass and served myself, but I am trying to, not even that discreetly, fill up my own water skin with the wine from the party. And when Gris joins me, as I'm finished doing that, I will serve her a drink.
Gris happily takes the drink and kind of gives Ariadne a slight look and then kind of just shrugs it off.
I just feel like, what?
And Chris is also carrying over the one plate of mushroom-related something, and it seems to be some form of stuffed mushrooms, and is like happily motioning to Ariadne to maybe take some.
Sure,
Elena's gonna cast a cantrip.
do it.
Go for
The
it.
cantrip is message. So I can send, like, within 120 feet, I can, like, whisper a message at the target, and only the target hears the message, and they can reply in a whisper that only I can hear. Target's Galen. Okay. So, Galen gets a whisper. Do I have to roll or anything?
No, it's a cantrip. You
No,
did.
I
yeah.
was gonna say it's a cantrip. It just says it's like immediate.
Yeah.
So Leon whispers to Galen with her mind. Galen, remember what we discussed. Please don't wreak any havoc. We need Gabriel on our good side. Nice. I know what you did last night. It wasn't nice, so do the opposite. Please.
Do the up.
Discuss this. Nice.
Galen, he's confused as to how he's hearing this voice in his head. That sounds like the annoying lady in red that he just doesn't care about. But he picks up that this is like some sort of spell, and he just like thinks to himself that maybe if I just think it, she'll hear it. And he just thinks, you said I could have fun. I'm not stealing.
Jesus. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh
Okay.
my God. Okay, so Gabriel sort of walks over with Galen, casting sort of a forlorn glance over at Leon, who he obviously wanted to talk to more.
Oh.
And as this is happening, Adriana takes Leon's hands and sort of oddly, once again, Raphael said she was odd, and you're sort of picking up on this now, takes Leon's hands and goes, "Should I just call you sister?"
Leon takes this in stride. This is her life, right? This is her life. And she looks at Adriana and says, has your brother told you about me? Has your brother said about me?
Oh, nothing. I love to read the letters your mother sent, and it would be so wonderful if we could be sisters. Don't you think?
You read the letters as well?
He leaves his things lying around. It's not my fault.
Ah. Oh, I'm not angry. I didn't even know about the letters until today. I think your brother and I need to get to know each other a little bit more before we can say that for certain.
Adriana just kind of like giggles and sips at her glass of wine sort of dizzily and disengages from the conversation a little bit. Meanwhile, Gabriel and Galen are standing aside, sort of by a rogue table of wine.
A rogue table of wine. Nice.
Yeah.
So
Ari's like, hello.
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 So in my inventory, I have a little thing of playing cards, and this is like integral to the I'm like pulling a fast one on him. I'm gonna like basically manipulate the shit out of him and get him to just completely fuck over his chances with Leon whatsoever, just because it's funny. So I lay out all these cards on the table, and I look at Gabriel and I say, "Which one strikes your fancy?"
He sort of chooses one kind of in the middle with like a disbelieving face and is like, "That one, I suppose?"
Okay, and I flip over the card, and it's a campfire. And I look at him, and I I start to sort of think up this story of meaning of this campfire card, and I look at him and I say, "Oh, it appears you've got quite the fire in your heart, yeah?"
Gabriel sort of awkwardly chuckles.
I mean, come on. We both know you fancy Lady LaBelle, right?
Oh.
At this point, Gabriel is like a little bit taken aback and sort of like, maybe you've struck a nerve, and he's like, "Why are you jealous?" Like, he's gonna try to turn this one on you.
Okay. And then Galen kind of like steps back a little bit with his hands up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit a nerve. But what this card means is if you don't take care of that fire, things could quickly get out of control." And I'm like locked in his eyes right now, like trying to make it seem as serious as possible.
Roll a charisma check.
Okay. 11 plus 3, 14.
Gabriel is having none of your shit.
Can I,
Gabriel, at this point, sort of scoffs and flips his hair and is like, "What an interesting party trick, sir, but I have more pressing matters to attend to." And all thought of impressing Galen gone, sort of turns around and starts to walk away from him.
Before he can go, Galen grabs his wrist, and behind his back, Galen casts Fog Wall, which sort of just fills the room with smoke.
What?
Whole room?
The
Whole
whole.
room.
This.
Ari, I need you to roll a quick Constitution check.
16 plus 2, 18.
Okay, Ari, you are tipsy but not drunk yet. Continue.
Continue.
How much? Oh my god, it was a drunk check!
I'm also
Breathalyzer.
I'm keeping track of,
Oh my
of
God.
drinks, so we're on the same page.
Okay,
I'm
good.
deceased.
How much can we see through this? What is this fog wall?
So fog wall obscures your vision almost entirely, except as a wood elf,
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say.
you are able to see through mist and smoke. So you are able to discern everything that's happening right now.
Cool. As soon as this happens, I just like Galen.
So I'm holding onto Gabriel's wrist, and I look at him, and I go, "Do you see what I said? Do you remember what I said, right? Where did this
Gabriel
fall from?"
kind of starts coughing and reaches over to the table beside you guys and grabs a goblet of wine and sort of chugs it and is like, all right, I understand, and takes a few steps back and is like, there are easier ways to dissuade a man from pursuing your woman, you know, and walks away. Obviously misreading the situation.
Yeah.
Or is he? So he like chugs his wine and sort of like stumbles back because it's fucking smoky. He can't see shit.
So he can't see shit at all.
He can, as an elf, he has a proficiency, but I mean, like he can see, but it's more like shapes.
Cool.
Okay.
Can I, not really asking, but not wanting Gris to get lost, just grab her hand, I'm sorry if this frightens you, and start walking back towards Galen.
Well, Gris has an advantage against being frightened, so you're fine.
Cool, but I just meant because I did not at all warn you. So we're heading back.
Can Leon cast message again, please?
Yes, go for it. It's a cantrip. You can do it as much as you want.
Galen hears a voice in his head. Galen, whatever you just did, you need to undo it right now. This is exactly what I asked you not to do. Like,
No, you asked me
she's
not
mad.
to steal.
She's
You can't hear this.
angry,
This is a
but
message.
You're not hearing that, Ari.
Oh, you're right.
This is
Sorry.
in his head.
I forgot it was message.
Galen just thinks, I guess whispers, I haven't stolen anything.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
At this point, I think
Cast
Gris,
it again.
Gris has clued in that something's going on, both by the ferocity at which Ariadne grabbed her hand and the fact that there's a lot of smoke happening. And she just kind of is like, what's happening? Is there a fire? Is something going on, Ariadne?
No.
Leon's like panicking. She doesn't want to like look bad or make anything seem bad. So she looks to Adriana and Alexandre and she says, is there some sort of area outdoors? You know, maybe like a garden area where we could potentially move the party until this fog clears? I'm not sure where this fog came from.
At this point, the fog suddenly dissipates, and Gabriel starts laughing, and he goes, "Nothing more than a party trick from our friend here," and slaps Galen on the back, sort of with joy, but you can see in his eyes he's fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Galen. So as like kind of like an act of defiance, and maybe trying to like put Gabriel back in check, he's like spinning his knife on his finger, and as he gets slapped, he like catches the blade and just looks at him
Ugh.
hatefully.
Gabriel laughs again and sort of walks away from Galen back in the direction of Leon, leaving Galen alone. Ari and Gris, where are you right now in the party?
Well, we walked back, so
Yeah, I think we're near Galen. I think we've kind of caught
I
up
don't think
to
he's
the
So,
to the hubbub.
Galen.
Or we'll have just gotten there if you want.
Galen, as he walks away from you, something kind of catches your eye.
Okay.
There is a doorway approximately 50 feet away from you, and you can see through the doorway a hallway in which you can see the telltale signs of candlelight flickering off of gold. The rest of the party seems very invested in interacting with each other.
Okay. I guess I should have slipped out when the fog was there, huh?
At this
I guess.
point, Gabriel has engaged Leon in conversation. He's asking her all kinds of questions about her reading and her travels and everything like that. You smell so pretty. He doesn't say that in those exact words, but he's doing his best to flirt with her. So Leon seems distracted.
Okay. I'm just now that we're there, I just turn to Galen and say, "Did you have fun?"
Not as much as I'm about to.
And Gris kind of looks at Galen and says, "What do you mean?"
Galen like crouches down and just pats Gris on the head and says, "Don't worry about it." And he turns and starts walking towards that doorway.
Gris immediately turns to Ariadne and says, "What does he mean?"
Don't worry about it.
All right.
Does Leon notice this at all, or she's that distracted?
I mean, you can roll a perception check, but you're going to need to roll with disadvantage.
I'm not gonna bother.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense. Like Leon would be enthralled in this conversation. She's trying to schmooze, so it doesn't make sense that yeah.
Okay, so Galen, you sort of sneak out. Ari, Gris, do you notice this?
I see it as we're just watching him walk away. I'm not doing anything about it.
I feel like Gris is a little concerned, like still doesn't know what's going on, and once again turns to Ariadne and says, "I feel like we should stick together, right?"
Can I look
Are you-
behind
Yeah.
myself as I'm walking, and I point to Gris, and I like beckon her over,
Oh no.
but just Gris.
Grace kind of notices the beckon, and after their, tea sharing moment and all that's happened today, and the herbs and stuff, is like kind of excited because thinks that Galen's maybe kind of warming up and softening up to her. So kind of quickly like runs over and looks at Galen and says, "Yeah."
I'm
Alright.
just squinting, just like. Sus. Sus.
Galen kind of like ushers Gris around the corner so Ariadne can't see.
So you
I guess
pass.
that would be a perception check, right? Maybe.
I think that
No.
Ariadne is currently. How many drinks have you had, Ariadne?
2 so far.
Ariadne has become distracted with another glass of wine. I think it seems that they are willfully ignorant of whatever's happening.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So, oh man, I'm gonna feel real bad for this, but it's okay.
No.
So Galen crouches down and he reaches into his satchel and pulls out that little golden vial that he had when he was laying up in the tree, and he holds it in front of Gris's face and says, "Remember this?"
And Gris looks at it and kind of squints and tries to see if she knows what it is. Can I roll to see if I do know what it is?
You're gonna want to roll a medicine check.
Oh, this may not go well. Actually, it may go great. It did not go well. It's a 9.
Oh.
You don't know what this is. You're like, oh, shiny.
And so I just kind of tilt my head and I'm like, what is it?
Have you heard of something called Sundrop?
Sundrop? Like, thoroughly curious and interested. No.
How do you feel right now, Gris?
Oh no.
At this point, however, there is a loud clatter down the hallway.
Galen like whips his neck around. To
Said no.
see.
And Gris kind of turns and is like, is somebody hurt? Immediately going into medicine mom mode.
The shiny, like, gold reflection on the wall has moved further down the hallway.
Okay, I at this point I think I've left them to their devices and still oblivious to whatever's going on with Leon and Gabriel. I just go and head over there, not wanting to be alone.
Okay, so at this point, Ari feels abandoned.
Yeah, thoroughly. But I just go.
Okay, so you find them crouched in this hallway. Galen, do you sort of tuck the Sundrop away very quickly?
Yeah.
Roll a deception check. Ari, roll a perception check.
Cool.
18 plus 5.
Fucking Christ.
Where's my?
You roll so well.
No, 7 plus 4. 11.
Okay, so you see him tuck something away. You're not sure what it is, which is
Sure
good
what.
because Galen, Ari would have known exactly what that is.
Shit, okay. So I
Got
look at the both
lucky.
of them. I look at the both of them and I say, I guess you're coming with me then. And he leads them down the hallway towards that noise.
So, even though you were sure that just seconds ago there was the glimmer of something against the walls, you find that this hallway is very long. Longer than it should be, and very dark. To your right, eventually, is a door under which there is a little bit of candlelight sort of flickering.
Okay. Can I check to see if there's any, like, pressure plates or hidden buttons or traps or things like that?
Sure.
12 plus 3, 15.
It's just the normal door.
It's just a normal door. Okay.
With no one behind it, it would seem.
Galen's sort of suspicious because he feels that this is way too easy.
As he's considering this door, I'm just like, are you waiting for something?
So he turns to the two of them and says, "Doesn't this feel weird to you?"
And Gris just like looks over at Galen and is like, "This whole thing is weird. This house is huge."
But
knowing what he meant, I just go, depends. What were you trying to do?
There's just this long hallway with a door behind it that seemingly no one is on the other side of, but it's a really long hallway for whatever reason, and nothing seems suspicious around here.
Have you ever known a noble to do things with a reason?
You have a point.
Damn.
I don't know. I'm just sussed out by this hallway. It feels.
Well, we're
It
more
feels
than
weird.
welcome to turn back, but it is a long hallway.
Jenny, is the only thing in the hallway the door?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Gris is like, I mean, it's a door. We could just open it.
Can I check to see if it's locked?
Yes.
Okay.
Rattles.
So
You can just like rattle the door.
I'll just rattle the door handle to check and see if it's locked.
The door swings open.
All right, I just walk in.
Galen like scratches his head.
Can I do a perception check as I walk in?
Go for it.
How long is this taking?
This is probably like 3 minutes of you engaging with the nobles.
13.
It's an empty room except for one corner, which has a small kind of stone, almost stool, that's apparently, it seems, being used as a shrine. There's a few lit candles on it, and on the shrine with the candles is a book in a language you, Ari, do not recognize.
Ooh.
Opened to a strange passage that has some kind of dried brown substance on it, and a dagger that appears to be pure elven silver, with carvings on it in the same language, and rubies inlaid into the blade itself that almost resemble drops of blood.
This is just Ariadne seeing this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Did the other two walk into the room?
Yeah.
Gris, I think Gris is kind of hovering at the doorway, a little concerned and a little like, I don't know.
Galen kind of quickly follows because he doesn't want to be blamed if Ari gets hurt.
Okay. All right. So, Galen, can you roll a perception check real fast?
Yeah. 16 plus 3, 19.
Perfect. You see the same thing.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
However,
Can I? Is
Galen,
there?
what languages are you fluent in?
I believe Common, Primordial, and Thieves' Cant.
Okay, wait. At this point, I think Gris is a little like, I don't want to be alone, and takes a step into the room, and would like to see what she sees.
I also feel like at this point, so Leon, yes, she is in conversation, but this is also something that she's done a lot, and she knows how to kind of keep tabs on everyone in a room, because like half of being a noble is knowing where everyone is so that you can network. So she does a little look around, doesn't see anyone.
Yes. Okay. So you cannot see your friends anymore.
Yeah. So my question for you is, my cantrip, a message cantrip, can that go through walls?
It can, but it has a limit.
So
if
they
you,
are
like-
further than 120 feet away from you.
They're further than 120 feet? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Can Leon see the hallway that Galen saw?
Not from your position, no. So you are kind of just aware of the fact that shenanigans are probably happening.
Okay. So Leon doesn't like this. She takes a look at Gabriel and she says, this is uncomfortable to ask. Where is there a space where I can potentially freshen up?
He sort of gestures in the opposite direction of where they went, to another doorway. And he's like, yes, there's a powder room down that way.
Perfect. Leon walks the opposite direction.
Away
She
from the
kind of
powder
wants to
room?
look around the room. She just wanted an excuse to get away.
Okay. Meanwhile, your companions are in this room.
Okay.
Can I roll to see
Yeah.
if... Okay. 21.
Alright, you see the same thing that they do.
Okay. I don't recognize the language either.
No.
Okay.
Do I recognize the language?
None of us do.
Galen, you recognize the language.
Oh.
Shit.
It is primordial.
No.
So do you share it? You gotta decide.
No, I don't share it, so I'll roll deception.
I mean, there's nothing they can do, but
Yeah.
roll to see how good you are about lying about not knowing what's there.
Yeah, so I asked, it's like, never seen this before. Have you? And I actually look at Gris, not Galen, but
Gris looks at Ariadne and says, "No, I'm not familiar with it, but I wonder what this is," and kind of like dips her finger in the strange substance that's on the page, and like kind of begins smelling and trying to see if she knows what it is, if it's an herb or something. Can I roll to see if I know?
I mean, it's dried. Whatever it is dry.
So I'm just getting like not any smell or anything, just kind of little pieces. Okay.
Yeah, it smells like iron and copper.
Iron and copper. So I think Gris, kind of smells it and
Yeah.
That's what I call blood.
even if I don't recognize the language, do I recognize the kind of can I roll to recognize if there's a kind of ritual that would have all of these components?
Religion check.
So I got good religion. Hold on. 18 plus 2, 20.
Bad shit.
bad shit religion.
It's not anything you recognize, but you know that this kind of shit can only be bad.
Yeah.
So, Galen, what was your roll for your deception?
16.
All right, you're fine. So they're asking each other if they've noticed.
So I do share. I'm like I don't recognize this, but it's not anything good. I'm like still just talking to Gris, kind of ignoring Galen completely. Still just talking.
and Gris just, what do you mean not good?
I mean, the types of rituals that have these ingredients are generally not for benevolent purposes.
And Gris kind of nods and looks at the dagger. You said the dagger has Elven written in it?
No.
No, it's
okay.
primordial.
Okay.
Is there... I want to know, can I look around the room or look around the shrine or anything else if there's anything, like, identifiable to the family?
There's
Like
nothing else in the room.
Goddamn. Okay.
And it's a big room.
Can I like hover over the book and like pretend I'm looking at the dagger but secretly be reading what the text says?
Yes.
Okay.
So the text is kind of fragmented. It's almost like it's a very old book. What you can see is sacrifice, curse, and the phrase, the blood of the nobility.
I don't understand this. But this
No,
this dagger looks this
I wouldn't
dagger
expect you to.
that's I'm gonna ignore that. This dagger looks nice though, and Galen just can't stop staring at the dagger.
The other thing that you see on the dagger is written the phrase, golden blood spilled for golden causes.
Okay.
I obviously don't know any of this, but I am looking at the way that Galen is looking at this dagger, and I'm just like, I think they'll notice if it's missing.
Will they know?
At this point, there is a loud clatter in the hallway and footsteps approaching.
Should we go?
I also want to say in the meantime, Leon has looked around quickly, can't see them, and has gone back to her conversation.
Okay.
Schmoozing.
Okay. And Gris just kind of immediately, should we leave? I don't know that we should be here. This seems a little not for us.
I think you're right.
How far away was the sound? It was pretty loud, but how far was it?
It sounds almost as if someone has started to drunkenly stumble down the hallway. You might be able to sneak past whoever it is, judging by the clatter, but you would have to be fairly good at sneakery.
Fuck. Okay.
I'm fairly good at sneakery, because small sneakery.
Small sneakery.
It is also dark in this hallway, so if you are able to conceal yourself in darkness, that might be helpful.
I mean, how much of a stretch is it to do Mask of the Wild if it's still lightly obscured?
Yeah, you're good. You can use Mask of the Wild.
Cool.
Okay.
So I can attempt to hide. So I think, I don't know what Galen's decided, but I think Gris and I have decided to make our way out. So I'm gonna attempt to hide, and she will just sneak.
Do I roll for stealth?
Roll for stealth.
Yeah. Okay, I've got 12 plus 3, 15.
All right, you make it out.
7 plus 2, 9.
Gris, you trip a little bit, but you make it out.
Okay. She can also hide in my space, right?
Yes. Galen, what do you do?
Galen's gonna swipe the dagger. For reasons. There's a reason. But is the hallway dark?
It's fairly dark, yes.
It's fairly dark. Okay, so I have dark vision, so I can see 60 feet in front of me. Is there anything
I think we all have dark.
Yeah, someone's standing in the hallway, but they're not particularly aware of their surroundings.
Can I recognize who it is, or is it just a random?
It's some random noble that you weren't introduced to.
Okay, so I'm just gonna sneak my way out as best I can.
You can you roll for that?
Yep. Shit.
What'd you roll?
No!
I rolled a 7.
Okay, so you trip,
Sneak.
and whoever it is at the end of the hallway goes, "Oi! You had too much to drink there, buddy?"
Yeah.
The guy kind of laughs, and he's like, me too, man. Let's go get another round of drinks, and slaps you on the back.
Ooh,
right.
ooh, hold on, buddy. Do you know where how do you know where the pisser is?
The guy laughs, and he's like, "We're men, buddy. We can just piss out the window."
All right, well, you can go and do that, but I've had a bit too much, bud. I can barely stand up.
The guy kind of stumbles away from you, clearly uninterested in this conversation.
Right. All right, us. I think Gris and I have made it out. I am looking around the room for Leon. Do I see her? Are you still in the bathroom?
Yes, she is engaged in conversation with Gabriel.
Cool. I very swiftly. I'm just kind of weaving my way through the people to get to Leon. And when I do see her, I notice that Gabriel is there, and just kind of I'm hesitant, but eventually I still just turn and go. I'm gonna try and hide it from Gabriel, knowing that he'll probably hear it and not caring, but going, I think it's time to leave.
At this point, I need everyone to roll a Constitution check.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
Actually, I need everyone to roll a Constitution saving throw.
Ah, okay.
What's so? Oh, there's difference. I see the modifiers.
Wait, there's a difference?
Here we go.
20 plus 2, 22.
So there's saving throw modifiers, and then there's like modifiers for rolls. You said a Constitution saving throw?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is 13 plus 3, 16.
10 plus 2, 12.
11 plus 2, 13.
At this point, Galen, Gris, and Leon, you are overcome by a wave of exhaustion. You are so tired you can hardly stand. Ari, you're just feeling kind of drunk, honey. But
Yeah,
everyone
about the
else
same.
is absolutely exhausted. Gabriel seems to notice and goes, Lady LaBelle,
It's a charm.
No. Lady LaBelle, would you like me to
okay.
show you all to your rooms?
Certainly.
I've obviously noticed that they've all become exhausted, right?
Yes, like Galen has gone from the guy who just wanted to perpetrate a robbery to someone who looks like they're asleep on their feet.
Cool.
And Gris has gone from bubbly, energetic Gris to she looks 10 times her age.
Right, okay. Oh, and Leon?
Leon is doing that thing that ladies do where it looks like they might faint soon.
Cool. So I turn to the party and I say, yeah, and so Leon says yes to Gabriel, and I go as well, like, yes, thank you. And I turn to them and go, don't ask questions, like, Galen, and I point at each one, and I'm like, Galen, grab Gris's hand, Gris, grab Leon's, Leon, grab mine.
So,
and I can go to follow.
Gabriel just kind of leads you guys up a flight of stairs, and there are 3 rooms. Each one has a door, and he opens a door, and he's like, "This is for you two," and he gestures to Ari and Gris, and it's a room with 2 relatively large beds, on either side of the room, and a large window that appears to be open, which is a very thoughtful move to honor the 2 people most familiar with the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Across the hall, he shows two bedrooms. Each one has one large bed inside, and he goes, and this is for each of you, and he sort of gestures to Leon and Galen, and he bows his head, and he's like, thank you so much for coming. I must return to my guests now, and heads down the stairs.
All right, so I go around and I lead them all to their rooms, and I tell them, get in your room, close the door, I'm gonna come by, don't open it if it isn't me. So I go, leave Galen first, then Leon, and then Gris to our room. And I just, put Gris, kind of lay her down on the bed and go, are you okay?
Gris kind of, lays down on the bed and is a little uncomfortable, not used to something so posh or over the top, and just says, this is not what I hoped for. But I guess I'm so weirdly tired.
I'm sure you are. I go and I'm just trying to treat her very gently, and go just to tuck her in and just make sure she's okay. I'm guessing you will be falling asleep soon.
Yeah, Gris kind of grunts in just kind of graciously in Ariadne's direction and just says, "Thank you, dear," and kind of snuggles down into the bed to fall asleep.
Ari, you go to open up the door and find that it has been locked from the outside. And as this is happening, Leon and Galen are each in their own rooms, lying down to fall asleep. Galen, you pull the dagger out and place it beneath your pillow to kind of hide it. Leon, you lie down in your bed.
Okay. So I noticed the door is locked.
Well, first we're gonna go to Galen.
Oh, cool.
Because there's some time that was taken here, so.
Yeah. So what'd you do?
I don't know. So I put the dagger underneath my pillow, but as much as I want to fall asleep, I don't think I can. Because it just doesn't feel right, to Galen at least, that he just suddenly got exhausted out of nowhere. Like, out of all the things that he's done, out of all the cons that he's ran, out of everything that he's stolen, this has never been, like, an after, or a side effect, I guess. So he's kind of restless, and I guess he walks over to the door and tries to see if he can leave.
Galen, your door is also locked.
Can I use my thieves' tools to pick it open?
You can start trying to pick it open. Leon, you are in your room.
So, because Leon is a magic user, does she also clock that this is weird?
I mean, so you don't have the knowledge that everyone else has of, like, other weird shit going on, but you do feel like maybe you've been overserved on wine or something.
Okay, so I'm just feeling a little tipsy. I don't necessarily think that this is super weird.
Right, you're like, red wine makes me tired or something, you know?
Yeah. Can I roll, well, what can I see in my room? Like, do I need to roll up? You know what? What can I see in my room?
Okay, so you have a bed. Next to the bed is a table. Like a set of drawers with a candle on top that's burning. Everything's sort of scented like lilac, so it's very comforting. There's some very nice art of what appears to be the family on the wall. There's the window is shut, but there's some very nice drapery over it. It's a very nice room. There's also a soft kind of sheepskin throw over the bed that would keep you warm at night.
Can I do a magic check? Can I do that?
You have to roll with disadvantage.
To see if there's any magic?
Yes, but you have to roll with disadvantage.
Okay. Where's that number on my sheet?
So you are going to
roll... Or is it just I roll it twice, and then whatever the worst roll is?
Whatever the worst roll is, and you cannot apply your modifier.
Okay. Well, that was a 12. Please, fucking God, be higher than 12. That was a 19.
All right, so you rolled a 12.
Yep.
I rolled a 17. So
fuck me.
You don't think that anything is odd. You are just absolutely exhausted. Your brain is not working at all cylinders here.
Okay. All right. Well, Leon kind of like opens up a couple of the drawers. She looks around a little bit. Does she see anything in any drawers that she opens?
There's some dried lilac in there. That's probably the source of the smell. It seems like someone is trying to go out of their way to make this room smell nice.
Well, Leon doesn't see anything, and she is tired, and that bed do be looking comfy.
So do you blow out the candle and go to bed? Leon,
she blows out the candle.
As you start to fall asleep, your eyes are just closing. You feel a cold set of hands wrap themselves around your arms and pull you out of bed. Galen, you hear a scream from the room next to you.
Do I hear it too, or am I across the hall too far?
Aria, you are across the hall. It's almost as if someone has put a muffling spell on the doors.
Gotcha.
But Galen, you hear it through the wall. You hear a woman's scream. And we will be back next week.
Damn it, Jenny!
Wow, Jenny.
Damn it, Jenny!
Kidnapped.
Oh, God.
You've been kidnapped!